Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Sam from Historic Travels and welcome to another video. Okay guys, so hey, first of all, you guys need to know I am recovering from a cold right now. That's why my voice sounds a little bit weird, so yeah, just keep that in mind. And second, today's video is the conclusion of my Titanic wreck exploration series. For those of you that don't know, for a while now, I have been working on a series where we are exploring the wreck of the Titanic in that famous Titanic wreck exploration game, ROV Titanic. If you've never heard of it, basically what the game is it lets you explore a digital recreation of the Titanic wreck site that was made from using 700,000 actual images of the real Titanic wreck. So yeah, exploring the wreck in the game is just like going to the real wreck site and taking a look around yourself. And what we've been doing is we have been exploring the wreck, and I have been talking about, why conditions at the wreck are the way that they are. I'm explaining why this part of the wreck is like this, why this is like this, going over the history and trying to figure out what damage to the wreck was done by, number one, the sinking, or number two, just the effects of being at the bottom of the ocean for so long. And yeah, it's been a very, very good series. And if you would like to watch the first two episodes, which I would recommend before you watch this one, this is a 3-part series, I will have links to those videos in the description below. And in this video, where it is the conclusion of the series, we are going to be exploring the Titanic stern section. And okay, well, with the intro out of the way, let's get into it. Special thanks to Titanic Honor and Glory for providing the sinking animations you're going to see in today's video. Please check out their work in the description below. All right, everybody. Well, hey, once again, welcome back to my office. We are here with the ROV Pilot Titanic game. Now, what we're going to do, as I said, we're going to go to the stern section. But before we go, so you see right here where it says select difficulty. There's realistic, moderate, easy. What we're going to do is I'm going to set it for realistic at first, because what the difficulty does is it just controls the lighting conditions you see at the wreck. Realistic is realistic lighting conditions, like what it'd be really like to be at the wreck, while easy lights up the whole wreck, so it's easy to see things. I'm going to set it for realistic, so just so you can see what it's like to approach the stern and see how it comes out of the darkness and how close you have to be to the thing to actually see it. And then once you get that perspective, I'm going to change it to easy so we can take a look around. All right, let's do this. Okay, make a quick adjustment. There we go. All right. All right, here we go. We are now at the Titanic stern. Now, as you can see, we are pretty close to the stern section. If you look at the radar on the bottom right of the screen, you can see where the stern is ahead of us. Now, to get to the stern on the actual Titanic wreck, basically what you do is you pass completely over the bow, all right? And then once you go over the stern part of the bow section, you keep going, and then you'll reach the stern in about 30 or 40 minutes. So that tells you how far away it is. And the stern, it spiraled as it headed down to the bottom of the ocean. So the back of the stern is actually facing the bow section now. So it's facing the opposite direction. All right, so there's the bottom of the ocean. Let's begin to head towards the stern. And you approach the stern in this game like you are coming from the bow section, which is really cool. Let's do a sonar pulse. And there it is. You can see we're coming up on it right now. We are descending and moving forward. And there it is. Coming out of the darkness. There's the stern. It's amazing how close you have to get to the thing before you can actually see it. I believe you got to get about 30 meters from the wreck before you can actually see the thing. And here it is. Now, the back of the ship, the back of the stern, is pretty much the only part of the stern that's still clearly recognizable as the exterior part of the Titanic wreck. Of the stern section. There's still other recognizable traits of it, but this part is the most recognizable. I mean, look, you can't even see the propellers, and they are literally right there. All right, let's change the difficulty. And boom. See, look how much brighter it is. Like, look how little you can see from before and after. All right, so let's begin looking around. Now, this part of the stern up here, this is something different that I'll touch on here in a little bit. This right here is actual decking of the stern, like the outside part of the stern's boat deck. This is where people actually would have been standing on the maiden voyage. Like I said, this is something different. And this right here is where people would have been gathering during the ship's final moments. They would have all been gathered right here, hanging onto the railing, waiting for the water to get to them. I mean, this is where they were when the ship sank. It's just heartbreaking stuff. Now, right here, This is really cool. This is a memorial plaque that was actually put onto the Titanic stern section during the Ghosts of the Abyss expedition. The Ghosts of the Abyss is an incredible Titanic documentary film that James Cameron did in 2001. I highly recommend you check it out. It's absolutely incredible. But yeah, you'll see them lay this plaque on the stern right before they headed up at the conclusion of their expedition. They got some incredible shots of the Titanic. Now, the Titanic stern section, like I said, where it did this spiral thing as it fell to the bottom of the ocean, it was the back part of the stern right here that actually impacted the ocean seafloor first. And because of that, the rudder and everything dug into the bottom of the ocean, you know? And the Titanic had 3 propellers. The central propeller, the rudder, all that is just completely buried. But its 2 other propellers are actually it bent them up a bit as it hit the bottom of the ocean, so they are still visible. Now, because we can't see the central propeller, believe it or not, there's actually some debate to this day about the central propeller. People like to debate on whether or not it had 3 or 4 blades. Olympic central propeller had 4 blades, and I'm pretty sure it's in the Titanic's plans that it would have 3 blades. Double check me if I'm wrong there. But because of that, the 3 blade thing, most people like to say it had 3 blades. I think it had 3 blades. That's my opinion, but there's no photographs of it. So yeah, and because we can't see it, we don't know for certain. But yeah, people argue it. They're like, oh, okay, well, just because it said it had 3 blades, that doesn't mean it had 3. Olympic had 4, so Titanic had 4. People just like to debate it. So, but yeah, let me ask what you guys think. Do you guys think it had 3 or 4 blades? And yeah, pardon any of my weird grammar things. Like I said, I'm getting over a cold. Okay, so now we're actually, before we go up and over the bow, let's finish looking at the propellers. There's something else I want to show you guys down there. Okay, so now we're literally going underneath the stern section. And you can see some of the portholes right there, you know, as we're looking at it. All right, I hope I don't crash the ROV. Jeez. Totally, this is totally OSHA safe, what I'm doing right now, 100%. OSHA would have absolutely no issue with this. And we're coming up on the propeller. Now, there actually used to be a cap on the propeller right here. You can see the rings where it would have went on. And anyway, it got blown off and shot off into the debris field after the stern hit the bottom. So yeah, that's missing. Now, there's a really cool detail with these propellers that you can see if you go to the actual wreck site. And it's barely visible here in the game. I don't know if you'll be able to see it because of YouTube compression when you watch this video, but I'll tell you, it is there. See, Olympic and Titanic, before they had their actual names when they were under construction, they had yard numbers. Olympic was ship 400, Titanic was 401, and that's what the ships were referred to until their names were given. And anyway, you can just make out the 401 written on the propeller blade right there. Like, I can't see the whole thing. I think that's a 4. That's clearly a 0, and I think I can see the 1. But yeah, right here is 401. And like I said, I don't think you guys will be able to see it, but if you play this game, it's there. And you can actually see it on the wreck. So yeah, there's Titanic's yard number right there on the wreck. That's an incredibly cool thing to see. It's still there. It's still there. Okay, now we're going to go up to the top of the bow, or the top of the stern. And I need to move away from it for a bit. That way I don't slam into it. Jeez, look at this. Good Lord. You know, when you're in these like ROVs and stuff, it's easy to forget the scale of how big these wrecks are, but this thing is absolutely ginormous. All right, so now we're coming up over the stern. Now, remember earlier I said that this was the actual deck of the stern. And this is something different. Well, this is actually the roof of one of the third class common area that was over this area. So when the stern was falling to the bottom of the ocean and it was spiraling, the hydrodynamic forces were so extreme on this part of the ship that it actually caused the entire roof over the third class common area to bend, warp, and flip upside down on top of the stern. So this is the roof. Like if you were in that room while the ship was at sea, you would see like these rib-looking things and all of that, like just sitting there, you know. And because of that, it all bent and curved and warped as the stern fell to the bottom of the ocean. And yeah, you can see where it came from. This is the opening right here where it would have been. It all just got peeled up. And look at that. Jeez. Jeez, just look at that. Look at the wreck. Look at the devastation. It's like I told you, like, the Titanic's bow section, it still resembles the ship. but the stern barely does. It just looks like a big, huge, jumbled up pile of metal at the bottom of the ocean. I mean, it's just gone. I mean, if you didn't know that this was Titanic, like, I wouldn't expect you to know what this is unless you already knew. And yeah, look, you can see right here where the steel, where it curved. You can see the actual curvature right here where the whole thing broke. And then here's some of the ship's interior walling, like the interior hull. Yeah, it's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Now, right around here is where the aft well deck would have been. And it was right around here where the Titanic's greatest hero, Charles Joukin, who made it his personal mission that the ship would sink with as little alcohol on board as possible, was when the ship broke in two. He was walking right around here, heading for the actual poop deck. When the ship broke, he grabbed onto the side, waited for the ship to stop rocking, and then once it did, he headed up for the stern, grabbed onto a railing, and then after the stern went vertical, he hung on, and then he basically said he rode the ship down like an elevator. So, yeah. He is the last confirmed person off of the Titanic and lived. And lived to talk about it. Yeah, so he just... Can you imagine that saying, oh yeah, I just rode it down like an elevator. Yeah. Now, it's a little bit hard for me to identify parts of the stern because it's so obliterated. It's hard for me to pick out, like, yes, this is where things are and da-da-da-da-da, or what exactly it is. But I'm going to tell you about something that isn't in this game, but its location in the debris field is right around where I am right now. So I'm basically over it. But right around here in this general area is where a few boilers from boiler room number 1 are located. And they spilled out when the Titanic broke in two. And because they're very heavy, you know, roundish objects, when they fell out of the ship after the break, they would have headed straight for the bottom. So basically this area right around here, like if you look at a map of the Titanic debris field, you'll see the boilers. So this area right around here, okay, so if you go to the wreck, find those boilers and sit your ROV right there, you're basically at ground zero. So at this spot, and you go straight up, that's the actual spot the Titanic sank. You can actually zero it in based on those boilers. Because after they fell out of the ship during the breakup, they wouldn't have went anywhere but down. So there wouldn't have been any hydrodynamic forces or any weird things going on. They would have had straight down. So yes, you can actually zero in on the actual spot the ship sank by looking at those boilers. I really wish they were in this game, but yeah, they're not. All right, so now we're going to head towards the forward part of the stern section. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you look at the stern is look at just how collapsed it is. It is just gone. Like, it is nowhere near as high up as it was before the sinking or incomplete. Everything with the stern collapsed. And that was for a large variety of reasons. There were some implosion-like events. Now, the whole stern didn't implode. I'm just saying there were implosion-like events here and there. Some crushing. There was... Most of the damage to the stern, though, was caused by the spiraling effect that it did. And, like, where the bow section was, like, think of it kind of like an airplane, okay? Where the bow section was designed to go through the water first, you know, it was able to just go sail, for lack of a better term, sail down to the bottom of the ocean or fall down to the bottom of the ocean, and the water rushed past it, just like wind on an airplane or wind on a car. You know, it flowed past it. But the stern didn't have that hydrodynamic feature. It was basically just a big, huge pile of metal. And because of that, it spiraled, it fell, and the way the water rushed past it, it ripped the stern apart as it fell to the bottom of the ocean, causing massive structural damage and collapsing. And it was just a disaster for the stern. And it ripped it apart. It ripped it apart. That's what all of this damage is from, or most of it here and there. And it was just devastating to it. Absolutely devastating. And then when the stern hit the bottom, it crushed it even more. It collapsed, you know, from the damage. And then the down blast that we talked about in the last episode, it did even more, or the grand staircase video, I should say. But yeah, that did even more damage to it. And yeah, I mean, it's just absolutely devastating stuff. Ah, right there. There's something I recognize. That's a lifeboat davit. You can see that's an actual lifeboat davit right there. I'm not sure which boat this would have been. What was over on this? This is the starboard side, so probably 11 or 13, one of those boats. And this is the one part of the stern section that actually looks somewhat intact. You can see some windows here. They would have been, you would have went through these as you were heading to the stern. But yeah, here's some actual decking. So this part of the stern is actually somewhat intact, and that's pretty cool to see. But yeah, look at this. This is just big, huge piles of metal. And we need to hurry up a little bit because we actually have an operational time limit. I can see that at the bottom. And the game will throw me out here in a minute. Now, there's one major recognizable piece of the stern that I want to talk about, and that is the engines. The reciprocating steam engines are now clearly visible on the wreck, and they are at the very, very front of the stern. We got to go all the way around so you can see them. Jeez, look at this. Like, there's some more of the hull right there. There's some piping. I really wish those boilers were here. And there they are. There's the engines. So the Titanic actually had 3 different types of engines. There was 2 triple expansion steam engines and the Parson low pressure turbine engine. And the turbine engine is behind the reciprocating engines, and it's buried and all that crap. But the reciprocating engines are visible, and this is them right here. The 2 massive reciprocating steam engines. You know these from the movie. Like there's a beautiful shot of the Titanic's engine room, and you can see these beautiful, amazing engines running. Let's bring it down so you can get a perspective on it. So right here's the Titanic's bottom. You can see there's the double bottom right there. And it would have looked like this. All right, so if you were a crew member working on the engines, these engines are about 3 stories tall. I'm going to bring the ROV down right here just so you can get a perspective. But look how massive these engines are if you would have been right here working as a crew member back then. And that also just goes to show how much the stern of the Titanic has collapsed, because the top of these engines is the top of the stern section today. And that's the ROV's tether, by the way, that big black thing. But yeah, the top of the stern is the top of the engines. So that just shows how much of the stern section was, you know, collapsed, destroyed, decayed, and just fallen apart due to the ship sinking. I mean, it's just crazy. In the Ghost of the Abyss documentary, they said that these engines today on the wreck look like a pair of sphinxes guarding a forbidden tomb, like something you would see in Egypt. Just crazy stuff. And we're heading around now. You can see where the hull here is bent and twisted. And you know, a lot of people like to ask what's going to happen to the Titanic as it decays and collapses. Like, what's that process going to look like? Well, look at the stern, because the stern actually was a little bit more recognizable when they first found it back in the 80s, but it has rapidly deteriorated since then. See, the more structural damage something like a shipwreck has, those areas that are more damaged decay faster than areas that aren't. That's why the front of the bow section is in such good condition, while the back part of the bow section, which was affected by the breakup, is not. Yeah, look at this. I mean, it's, like I said, it's hard for me to identify things and talk about things because it's so devastated. There's another lifeboat davit. You can see it curved right there. So this would have been some of the decking. This is some of the decking. And I believe, is this the mast? I'm pretty sure this is what's left of the aft mast. I'm not 100%, but yeah, double check me, guys, but I'm pretty sure that's what's left of the mast that was on. And fun fact, the light on the mast was actually the last light on the Titanic to go out during the final stages of the sinking, because the light on the mast was not electric. It was an oil lantern, so it wouldn't have been affected when the ship lost power. So it would have stayed burning until literally the ship, until it went beneath the surface, yeah. Oh, there's one other thing I think we can see. Let's go up, and you can see the hole where the Titanic's 4th funnel once was. So the area of the 3rd funnel, it got completely destroyed in the breakup. It's actually, there's 2 huge jumbled up piles of metal that are thrown from the Titanic wreck out in the debris field. It's called Tower 1 and Tower 2, and that's where the Titanic's, like, that's the area of the 3rd funnel, and all that stuff broke free of the wreck after the break, and so the 3rd funnel area is gone. But the area of the 4th funnel is right there. I'm pointing at it right there. So that's the hole where the 4th funnel would have been. Yep. And there's a crane. You can see there's a crane right there. Just crazy stuff. Like I said, it's just weird to see it like from all these different angles and perspectives. You can really look around on the wreck. Jeez, look at that. People also like to ask, why don't we explore the interior spaces of the stern? Well, there's not exactly a lot of interior spaces that we can look around. That's the only problem. It's all crushed and collapsed, and I'm pretty sure any ROV you did try to get in there it wouldn't last too long. Oh, look right there. There's something else. There's a ladder. Oops, sorry guys. There's a ladder right there. Jeez. All right, guys. Well, hey, with that, I think that pretty much concludes our exploration of the stern section. So stand by for my final thoughts on this whole thing. And okay, guys, with that, this concludes my Titanic wreck exploration series. I sure do hope you guys enjoyed this series, and I hope I was able to teach you a little bit something about the wreck of the Titanic. It was a ton of fun to make this, and that ROV game, I'm telling you, it really does open a whole lot of possibilities with exploring the wreck, because before this game came out, there was so many instances where like I'd be looking at pictures or paintings of the wreck, and I'm like, I wish I could go to that spot and take a better look at this area, or go here and look at this and try to see this angle from this perspective. And listen, that this game really does help open up the Titanic to everyone, and it's amazing what we can learn about the wreck from this. So the team at Magellan that made this scan of the wreck, they did an incredible job, and they made a huge contribution to Titanic history. That's for darn sure. Anyway, guys, hey, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please be sure to leave it a like. If you're new here, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys so much. It really helps out a lot, and I will see you guys in the next video. Hopefully my voice will be back to normal then. Y'all take care.